Welcome, friends. We are yet another episode on carbon footprint assessment. Today, we are going to talk about what is Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3. Mr. Suhas is with us to throw light on Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3, the criteria for assessment under carbon footprint. Suhas, sir, can you just put light on what is Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3?
See, in an organization, there are various areas in which the carbon emission happens. When I say carbon, that means all the greenhouse gas. To understand it broadly or to focus on individuals, everything is divided into three types. The first is the Scope 1. Scope 1 emissions are those emissions that are caused by the organization within the organization.
Okay.
Now, it can be as simple as a boiler or a generator that I am running in the company. So there are some emissions of that. There may be some chemical processes which are releasing some emissions. There may be some movement within the organization which can cause.
Like chiller plant also?
A chiller plant can come, air conditioning can come, some heating solutions are there. Now all those things will be within the organization and within the organization's control.
Understood.
That is Scope 1. Scope 2 is the energy that you purchase.
So here it will differ from the Scope 1 energy what you generated as a generator will go in Scope 1.
So,
And what you purchase
is Scope.
is Scope 2.
The energy that you purchase is not generated by. You may be buying it from some utility company, the electricity board. You may buy it steam. You may buy some gas, natural gas. Now, these are the energies that you purchase.
So even if I purchase oxygen cylinders and a nitrogen cylinders, it will come under Scope 1 or Scope 2?
It's really speaking, it will come under Scope 1. Because the nitrogen or oxygen is not the energy that you are purchasing.
Yeah.
So, when I'm using the steam, I'm purchasing energy. When I'm buying electricity, I'm using that electricity because somebody else is burning some carbon fuel to give you that energy. So that comes up to Scope. Scope 3 is basically those processes which are not in your control. It can be as simple as business running, or it can be logistics where material movement comes to your gate, or it can be employees traveling every day to come to work. No, they are bought for you, but you are not directly responsible for that.
So that means Scope 3 is very much complex.
Scope 3 is very complex. That is why Scope 3 determination takes a lot of time.
So when you help any organization, how you determine this geographical scope and the boundaries while designing Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3 also?
A very difficult activity in many of the organizations. But if you broadly look at those activities that happen within your premises can be broadly put as Scope 1.
Okay.
Yes, there are some activities which are happening outside, but you may have to cover it under Scope 1. To give an example, if you're talking about a logistics company, if the vehicles are running,
Yeah.
it's a still come under Scope 1.
Not under Scope 3.
Rather than Scope 3, because that is the main business of the organization.
Understood.
So, though it is difficult, but Scope 1 and Scope 2 are comparatively easier to determine. Scope 3 requires a lot of efforts, Scope 3 requires a lot of discussions, and then you come to governance.
So how do you advise a company when I talk about Scope 1? There are certain questions which normally I receive from the clients. It says in Scope 1, I don't know the input carbon values. Like a GST example, when you have an input GST and then you add back to you this. So they don't have an input carbon values. So currently you go under an assumption because you don't have an information.
Very cool. What can happen in such cases is people follow the concept of gate to gate.
Okay.
So whatever is the emission which is before, I may not be responsible for that. But when I am purchasing some material, along with that material, the carbon footprint also comes, which is easy to put in mind.
Okay. So when you make your report, you say it's my concept, the methodology uses get to gate. Okay.
So you may have cradle to gate, or gate to gate, or gate to grave, or cradle to grave. Different terminologies.
So depending on the product life cycle and the complexity of the product, you can. Thank you very much, sir. With this episode, we are clarifying the doubts about Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3. still you have any confusions, you can reach out to us. Our contact details are mentioned below. Thank you.